Hi, I'm Brad, the youth minister. Wait, Jesus, is that really you? I totes stand you.
What in my father's name are you even saying?
You yeeted our sins, man.
Dad, can you translate this for me?
You're on your own with this one, kiddo.
Those atheists are sleeping on you, man.
I can assure you that no one is sleeping on me. Am I right?
No cap. You know, seeing you in person just hits different.
I'm not wearing a hat. I'm so confused.
This is straight fire. Spill the tea. What's heaven like? Cat Kerr said you can write volcanoes.
Fire? Tea? Screw this. I'm really out. Dad, cancel the second coming.
Now I'm big mad.
Holy ghost, he's not stopping. Dad, zap him.
Ha! Got him. Still got the good aim. Look at him twitch. Look at that.
I'm never going back there. Dad, can you make it flood again?
I'm Dave Fitzgerald.
And I'm Dana. Who is that?
Let's take that again.
We can start again. Absolutely.
I'm Dave Fitzgerald.
And I'm Dana Preston.
And we took a left at the valley.
I know we shouldn't have to scream that we're atheists. You know, we don't have non-astrologers and all that. But with religious people taking over the world, I mean, we can either speak up or be pushed into a corner.
I'm proud to be an atheist, a skeptic, a non-believer, an infidel, a heathen. I call it how I see it. I say it's ignorance and you just call it faith and unsubstantiated claims. That's something to be ashamed. I'm an atheist.
Coming to you from rainy BC, Alligator, Florida, and Cold Canyon, Texas, this is Left of the Valley 2.0.
Yeah.
My name is Kevin, and I was sitting in a recliner watching a movie, naked, eating Doritos, minding my own business, when Walmart freaking called the cops on me. Sure. Joining me, as usual, is the team who points to a block of cheese, and, you know, it's actually just a loaf of milk.
Fair.
She'd like to buy a bagel with cream cheese, but the cashier only takes cash. Sabrina.
Oh, that was a good one.
He was hoping friends with benefits, including medical dental. Brent Lee.
It doesn't?
No, sorry.
No.
Wait.
I mean, it depends on who you're banging.
I mean, I
That's
guess I'm
true.
glad
That's
that
true.
I heard this now, and so it'd be kind of an embarrassing conversation later.
I
And
bet
he
like
won't-
Bezos.
And he won't yell in the colander because he'll strain his voice. Benjamin.
Yes, that's true.
Guys, welcome back.
Hey,
So today we'll be talking to
you dragged me here, you know, kicking and screaming.
kicking and screaming, absolutely. So today we'll be talking to Candace Gorham, and we'll be talking about her book on death, dying, and disbelief.
Yeah.
That's in the second half of the show. But first, let's do our usual chit chat. And this show is brought to you by our patrons. You too can become a patron and help us in our efforts in the show. Just go to patreon.com/LATV and you get an unedited, unscripted version of the show and behind the scenes look. Fantastic.
Yeah, there was some good behind the scenes today.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
exactly.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I wasn't there, so that made it.
We missed
It
you.
was great. It's got to be great.
Guys, for marketwatch.com, did you guys hear that the red states, talking about COVID here, been hit the hardest by COVID?
Mhm.
Surprise, surprise. You know, and they've now realized that this is, of course, a pandemic of the unvaccinated.
Mhm.
Counties where Trump have received the most vote are actually, they've estimated is 47 out of 100,000 people that are dying in those states, as opposed to 10 out of 100,000 people in the blue states. So there's
Wow.
so it's like
Not just the
4.7
states,
times.
though. Isn't it the counties? Like,
Yes,
didn't
it's the
they look at the
counties.
individual? So if the
Yes.
county was like
But-
super red, then they're
Oh, yeah.
47 out of 100,000. But if it's like super blue, then it's the other way. It's like 10 out of 100,000.
So
It's
if
crazy.
you really want to know where COVID is hanging right now, it's in the red, and deeper the red state. or
Unvaccinated.
counties.
Which
Unvaccinated, that's where it's
Can
at.
I tell my
Which is-
personal story here?
Real quick.
Well, it is quick. It's I think we talked about it a little bit on the show about how we were exposed at the beginning of August to COVID,
Mhm.
and there was 2 people that were unvaccinated. The one person actually brought the COVID to the family reunion, and the other was his roommate. His roommate showed almost no symptoms for the first week. Anti-vax, by the way, very anti-vax.
Mhm.
And after the first week, went downhill. Ended up in a ICU on a vent. Then on ECMO because his organs were all shutting down, and they told everyone, if he makes it through, it's a double lung transplant. At
Which
the
is
very
where we left the
least.
story last time.
He died.
He died. He's down. He's gone.
Oh no.
Yeah.
So
Awesome.
it also is because this is somebody who's made the news locally. So there's a little bit more information out there. But his wife's Facebook was actually, she was posting while he was in the ICU, fake news fact checked post. She actually asked
Wow.
the hospital give him ivermectin. Yes. So
Wow.
the moral of the story is nobody that was at that family reunion that was double vaccinated got even sick. And they were all directly exposed to the same people.
Wow.
So
I want to say one thing real quick. Like, it's crazy too that the numbers are that way. The numbers are like 10 out of 100,000 in blue areas. And the reason that it's so crazy is that blue areas are the highest populated areas usually. Like, it's a
Right.
small portion of like land or whatever, but way more people, right? And then all these rural areas where nobody's even that close to each other. They're not all using public transportation all the time and shit like that. And they're
So that
not,
really should show something.
that's
Because they're
Yeah.
not masking, they're not vaccinating, they're just
Well,
living
and
their
it
life like none of
shows-
this happened.
Yeah, the denser the dense populated areas too, where you're more likely to get it because you're in closer contact. You can't go to the grocery store without brushing shoulders.
even here in a place like Vancouver in BC, I mean, they've estimated now that the local population around Vancouver and the suburbs is 90%. I mean, 90% vaccinated, double vax at this point.
Really, I've not really paid
But-
attention. I just know that we're doing okay.
When you're going up north, places like Dawson Creek, like that, it drops drastically to like 50, 60%.
Dawson's
So,
Creek, where Pacey lives?
yeah, that's right.
yeah, it's the Dawson.
Yeah. Well,
This is what happens when you rather play politics
Yep.
than actually listen to the science. And
Exactly.
I hate to say that,
Yeah.
but I frankly don't have a lot of sympathy for these people anymore. I really don't. I'm sorry.
Well, see, and they talk all this deep state nonsense, but the reality is, if there is a deep state, the deep state would want them to not get vaccinated, and the best way to do that would be how? Misinformation.
Yeah.
and here's the other thing I just want to throw out there. Why in the world would this deep state want to kill off the tax base?
Yeah.
The high rich people, they don't pay no taxes. It's all you poor people that are dying in troves.
Yeah, exactly.
Well,
and to,
it did,
and to
there was like,
piggyback on
oh,
what-
sorry, go ahead.
and to piggyback on what Benjamin was saying, there was actually an article that came out in Breitbart very recently.
Yeah,
a guy
go
named
figure.
John something. And that's exactly what he posits forward, that Howard Stern and are mocking Joe Rogan and all that. And that's somehow a ploy for the Democrats to make sure
That you don't
Republicans don't vaccinate themselves so they can die
Yep.
and win the next election kind of thing.
It's reverse psychology. That's so funny. That was exactly what I was about to bring
It's a
up.
good move.
Well, it is a
From-
good move because
Yeah.
it's forcing them to think, hey, maybe we should go get vaccinated so we don't die.
So either this guy's a
We all-
complete kook or he's like the best troll ever.
Right. Yeah, dude. And all we got to do is go tell like people, these Trumpers and shit to like be healthy and like make responsible choices, and they'll be no, fuck you, and then they all die, and then we win elections. See, like
It's
Right.
true. Remember,
how it
If,
goes.
if you're not alive to vote, we're gonna win.
it's true. I mean, you remember when
It's
Michelle
true.
Obama was trying to put a program to eat healthy in school for the kids?
Yes.
And the first thing they were doing is they were passing cookies through the fence to the kids so they can be sure, and chips to make sure the kids can eat shit.
Yeah,
It's just
they're dropping
insane.
packages out of helicopters over schools. Yeah.
Unreal.
Insane. In other news, astronomers have discovered probably the largest comet ever seen.
Cool.
It's been named C/2014 UN 271. It is so large that it's speculated might actually be a dwarf planet,
Wow.
and it's heading this way.
Oh.
It should be arriving in the area in the year 2031. But don't worry, it's not going to be
10
that.
years. Okay.
It's not going to be that
we got
close. It's
time.
going to be about 11 astronomical units away from us.
Which is?
An astronomical unit is the distance between Earth and the Sun.
I
That's
know
1
that.
AU.
So
So it's going to be 11 AU away. So it's not going to be. It's going to be passing maybe around Saturn or something like that.
Oh, it's not gonna wreck Uranus.
Oh, right in there.
The orbit calculated says that apparently it was back here about 3.5 million years ago last time it was around. And it's at least 10 times bigger than the Hale-Bopp comet. It's estimated that the comet itself, or if it's not a dwarf planet, is about 150 kilometers across. For American friends, about 100 miles across. So it's a pretty big chunk of rock or ice or whatever it is. We'll know more as it gets closer, obviously. Wow. And in fun news, you guys, human technology has limits. Cryogenics can only go so far.
Are you sure?
Yep. So Pat Robertson
I don't know.
has decomposed beyond being able to host a 700 club, and now he's announced he's going to retire.
Yes, I heard this.
Okay.
Finally, after what, like 800 years or something?
Well, actually, the 700 Club was actually launched in 1966. So he's been at the helm of this for quite a while. His son, Gordon, will actually take over. He's 91
Keep it
now,
in the family.
and he says he plans on living another 29 years. Sure,
His son's 91, man. That makes sense with the way Pat Robinson
is.
thinks,
Yeah.
Although his son might be 91 too. Pat might actually be 100. A few facts about Pat Robertson throughout the years. He made a fortune with blood diamonds out of Africa. That's how he got his money. In 2006, he claimed he could leg press 2,000 pounds while he was in his 70s.
Oh,
bullshit!
That's literally a ton. That's a ton.
The 70-year-old Pat Robertson was pressing a ton with his legs. No.
I have a hard time believing that.
He just looked up some facts. It's like the two dudes on the side that were lifting it for him.
Yeah, it's just mechanically moving.
Like, I was in the metric. I thought I'm milligrams. Wait, what? You guys didn't? Oh, no, milligrams. 2,000 milligrams.
He used to say that the gays had a ring, and he would scratch people. The gays would scratch people with the ring, and they would give him AIDS like that.
I remember hearing that one.
Wild.
Oh yeah, you could also say that gays cause tornadoes and earthquakes and all that.
Oh God.
He said passing in 2018. He said the passing a ban on discrimination on gays would cause an atomic war. It hasn't happened yet.
Okay.
Why?
Well, that's the thing. The gays got to marry in this country, and
I know, right?
Oh, right.
He also said things like BLM was intended to spark a lesbian Marxist revolution.
Oh yes, I've heard this one.
Wow.
I love that one so much.
So
Like,
he
how does
just
this
kinda
even
got
make sense?
crazier and crazier as he got older.
And he also said that Trump would win. You know what?
Oh, of course he did. They all said Trump would win.
Yeah.
On behalf of all atheists everywhere, I want to thank you, Pat Robertson, for all the laughter throughout the years.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes.
Right?
Standing ovation. 10 out of 10 for entertainment.
Oh
Mhm.
man.
0 for everything else.
Exactly.
It's crazy. Like
Factual.
it's weird that he like turns all the people he doesn't like into fucking superheroes. You got like Storm from X-Men. Apparently, if you're gay, you can just like wreck the, with all these storms and stuff. Then you also got Jean's powers. You can set off all the nuclear bombs if you wanted to,
Yeah.
and then also can start revolutions. Apparently, it's crazy. Like,
Yeah, it's like, everything missing are claws.
Yeah.
Like Wolverine.
You're like, but it's great.
Just
'cause
wait,
He's just
just
sitting
give
there.
it
He's like, what are people scared of? Okay.
Right?
Yeah, exactly. Now, one last little thing on a personal note.
Okay.
Yesterday was October 2nd.
Yes.
October 2nd, for maybe our diehard listeners, you might remember, was the birthday of our dear past co-host, Nancy Weiss Gallagher. And I thought maybe you guys would be so kind to indulge me in a moment. I pulled out a clip of Nancy because she was unique, to say the least. And I thought I'd play this clip. It's one of my favorite moments that we ever had on the show. Would you guys mind if I played a 4-minute clip of Acoustic Kitty?
Yes,
Oh,
but only
yes.
because it's 4 minutes. If it was 5, I'd have to say no.
I remember this though. I remember listening and like dying. So yes, I would love to.
Yeah, this
I'm
is
gonna remove that.
this is a clip that Nancy used to do a segment called This Day in History, and later on she did the top 10, which Sabrina took over as doing the top 10. But this is a point where she tells a story of a super secret agent in a cat. So let me play that clip.
I've heard this clip.
It's hilarious.
It's great.
All right, let's play that.
At the height of the Cold War, officials in the United States hatched a covert plan to keep tabs on the Russians in Washington, D.C. They decided, deploy surveillance cats. I kid you not. Cats, surveillance cats, surgically implanted with microphones and radio transmitters to slip by security and eavesdrop on activity at the Soviet embassy. Now, this is true.
Wow.
This is not fake news.
Here's your mission, Double O Pussy. Just accept it.
They couldn't make a movie this good.
You got the transcripts of That's right. We know it's true. Kevin has the transcript. Anyway, the project went by the thinly disguised code name Acoustic Kitty. This is so much fun. Anyway, they operated on this poor cat, put batteries in him, and wired him up. And this was according to a guy that wrote a book. His name was Victor Marchetti, and he was the executive assistant to the director of the CIA in the 1960s. So a book came out of this actually in 2001 called The Wizards of Langley. So it's in the book, and it's in Google, no problem to find it. Anyway, here this poor little kitty is with the batteries and everything else, and the final little thing that they did to really make this embarrassing to the cat was his tail was used as an antenna. What an iniquity to this poor cat. So in this book, The Wizards of Langley, he characterized it by saying they made a monstrosity. Anyway, so now they've got this whiskered, yowling, unbelievably expensive monstrosity. The CIA put $10 million into designing, operating on, and training the first acoustic kitty. And that's according to several accounts.
It only cost $6 million for Lee Majors.
Yeah, I was just thinking that in 1976 or whatever.
Yeah.
A $6 million man.
I know, and here is the bionic cat, it costs more money. Anyway, so they get this poor kitty all stitched up and wired up, and his tail is up in the air, and it finally came time for the inaugural mission. And the CIA agents released one of the agents, who was a rookie agent, from the back of a nondescript van and watched as he set out on his mission. So Acoustic Kitty dashed off toward the embassy, making it all of 10 feet before he was unceremoniously struck by a passing taxi.
No, you lie. You are lying.
Can you imagine? There they were, these agents sitting in the van, and the cat was at $10 million roadkill in the middle. Unbelievable. So the CIA eventually scrapped the project, including, according to partially redacted documents in George Washington University archives, that despite the energy and imagination of those involved, they decided it would not be practical to continue to try and train cats as spies.
That is the best story.
I have to say that was, yeah.
Every time I hear the story, I picture the van with those agents sitting in it with their jaws. Just how do we explain? We got splaining to do it. Our jobs are obviously on the line.
I'm just trying to picture the one agent looking at the other one, going, "Lucy, you have explaining to do."
It's a fantastic story.
It's a fantastic story.
Absolutely. And, stranger than fiction.
Let me go over there and get it real quick.
My name is Meow, James Meow.
Yeah, it's so good. I love it.
Oh, poor Double O Pussy. That was such a great moment in the show, and it's probably one of my favorite, if not my favorite clip of all time.
Right. So now I have to hold up to this standard.
Yes, sir. That's like
it's actually me.
It's one of those Oh.
Oh,
It's one of those moments where you wonder if Matt Groening was writing reality for just like a minute, just a little bit.
Right.
This is what the truth is stranger than fiction. Who would have thought such a unbelievable story? And you get a picture of that cat with 1960s, 50s, 60s technology. Battery packs, and they're not like tiny little things that we have today. The antenna and the tail is like, oh my god!
Like, you think that's gonna slip by? They're not gonna say like, what the fuck's wrong with that cat, y'all? Guys, come and look at this shit.
Why does that cat have a weird square lump on its side? What?
His tail's sticking straight up. No, but no cats have their tail like that. This doesn't make sense.
Oh my god, it's just an amazing. And the fact that it's a true story on top of that is just amazing.
Yeah.
So like I said, October 2nd was her birthday. I think she would have been 84. She was a pearl of a person, and I actually do miss her. Wherever you are, Nancy, my God, thank you so much for the memories and the laughter. So, excellent. Do you have a top 10 for us this time?
Yes, I do.
Oh, she does. Okay. Thought she was going to say no for a second.
I know, me too. No.
Worried. Like, no, I don't, and I never will ever again, Kevin. Okay, tired of your shit.
I'll never fill Nancy's shoes, but I do my best. Anyways.
Oh, you don't have to fill her shoes. You have your own shoes to fill.
Well, I know. They're really big shoes, so.
Are you telling the audience that you have big feet? Because people
I
are
do.
into that.
I fully admit it. I'm short with big feet. I'm like a clown. Anyway.
No, she doesn't. She's got normal size feet. Hey, don't listen to her.
Did you know that it's October? Did you notice?
Yes, I did.
Do you know what else is October?
It's fall, y'all.
It's Halloween. Yay.
Halloween soon.
So
favorite time of year.
I don't have to take my kid trick-or-treating anymore because she's going to be taking her nephew this year. So yeah, she's an adult and I don't have to do it. But I remember when she was a kid, and I remember being a kid, and I thought, what's the top 10 worst Halloween candies that you can receive?
Okay.
Oh, hell yeah. Okay. All right.
Yeah. I hope everyone here was allowed to go trick-or-treating.
It's number one.
Last year we didn't really have that because COVID.
No, I know for COVID, but I mean, like as kids, did you all go trick-or-treating?
Yeah.
I wasn't really allowed for a long time, and then finally, once I got to be like 13, 14, I was finally allowed to go.
Yeah, I always, of course, went because I wasn't really in a.
This is hard for a 13-year-old to finally be able to go because you want to go out there and be like the other kids, but at the same time, you're too cool for this shit. This is kid stuff, right?
Oh, it's candy.
Right, yeah.
Look,
it was already passed by the time I was able to do. Yeah.
I don't care. Whoever knocks on my door at Halloween, if I have candy, I'm giving them candy. I don't care if they're 73.
Me too.
I don't care if they're wearing a costume. I don't care. If you want some of my candy, have some of my candy.
Yeah,
you don't have to say words. You don't have to say trick or treat. Just stand there with the bag. I'll put the candy in. We're good.
Yeah,
I always end up forgetting and then end up having to give like Tums out, as Smarties or something.
Oh, you're one of them.
No, these are Smarties. No, don't look at those words there. Those pesky,
Like, no, you
pesky
can't.
words.
No, you can't have my Bud Light. Just eat the Tums, okay?
I tried that. I tried to pull that on the police officer's door. It didn't work.
Oh gosh. Anyways, I will start my top 10 now. If you all let me.
Yes.
All right.
That means that's the point of the segment.
Yeah. Okay.
Right,
Number
go.
10 are Tootsie Rolls.
Tootsie Rolls like the worst. Like,
Yeah, no, they're out
Yeah,
there.
maybe number 10
They're
are the
the-
worst.
okay.
Yeah. I mean,
Okay, like
But
a
not
fresh
the-
Tootsie Roll is okay. It's soft, it's chewy, but like
Okay.
really the ones you're getting in your Halloween bag.
But
Are
not
those
the
soft and
chocolate
chewy?
ones, the flavored ones with like the orange and the lemon.
Ew.
flavored Tootsie
But
Rolls.
see,
I
those
don't
make
think
sense.
that was in
So
Canada.
good.
We're not weird like that.
Oh, no, that's
How do
so-
we have chewy chocolate? When did that become a thing? That's never been something I thought people would want or need.
Caramel
Well,
cinnamon.
the ones that come in the weird bars, you know what I'm talking about? The Tootsie
Yes.
Rolls come in the bar
The
shape.
big ones?
Yeah,
They're like the
No.
ones that
kind
are
of
like in the
segmented
little...
into threes.
Yes. Yeah.
but it's
they're
like a
massive.
bar. It's like this big,
Yeah, they're
One of these days-
ridiculous.
maybe smaller.
One of
but, you
these
know.
days, we should do a show where I should buy a couple of Canadian candy and send them to the States, and they can send us some
Well, I
American
used to
candy.
actually do that. I was
Uniquely
in
American,
a Facebook group that did swaps like that. So
Yeah,
we would
and
all
do a
sign
taste
up
test on the show.
and we would
Taste
do
test reaction video.
We did a candy
Yeah.
swap once. We did a magnet swap, but the candy swap was fun because you got candies from all over the world, not just the US. Because there's anyway.
I
you
mean,
told
this
me
is the United States of fucking America, and they're coming out with alcoholic Mountain Dew.
Oh my god. All right, so let's go on
Jesus.
here. Number 9 are rockets. which you Americans
Yeah, we don't
you
know.
what those are, but I can tell you what you call them, which is Smarties.
You guys
Like,
call
what the
them
hell?
Smarties.
Yeah,
Smarties,
we have
okay.
real Smarties. You don't have
Yeah,
Smarties.
because you
Anyway.
are what you eat.
Yeah. So
Fucking
when you
chalk
go to those
thing.
house and they're giving out that crap, you're like, yeah, that's the cheap house.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah,
so
they're the
number
worst.
8. Number 8 is candy corn.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I said it. Okay.
I think I've had that candy corn once in my life.
Oh, it's so gross.
And I never touched it again.
Mm-mm.
It's
Have
for
you
me.
seen the picture of the internet of the candy corn pizza somebody made?
Yes, I did.
Yeah.
My friend posted. I was like, "Ooh," and she's like, "Yeah," and I try it. I'm like, "Ooh, I don't know if we can be friends anymore."
Like, and now the people that are mad about pineapples, they're not mad anymore.
Yeah, no shit, right?
It's like
Candy corn, like-
common enemy.
It's like one of those things where candy corn, like even as a kid, when you just don't give a shit, like sugar is sugar, right? But like even with with that being true, like you could have like 2 or 3 of those things. You're like, yeah, I'm good now. Like the first one was okay, the second one was less okay, and the third one was gross, and now I'm done.
Yeah.
It's like
Yeah, well,
just
back in the 80s,
declines.
we had those like wax fake lips that had
Yes,
some
that
flavor to
actually
them that you
almost made
chewed
the
them.
list.
Oh, they
Right.
were so
Yeah, you
bad. The
chew
flavor
'em and then
lasted
the
for like
juice
3
would come out.
seconds.
And then you had to spit the wax out, of course, because it was just fake gum.
It was just
Right.
wax. Yeah, it
Just
was
wax.
terrible. It's like the bottle things that where you can eat the bottle. It's the same thing as the lips, but
Yeah.
it's like a little fucking weird.
Yeah, the bottle. I remember that too. So number 7 are pixie sticks.
No,
Oh,
what?
yeah.
What?
Remember?
Hold
That's-
on now.
no.
Now we're getting off the
You
rails here.
shut your mouth.
We
just
jumped the
pretty-
shark.
That tropical pixie stick is on point. Like,
Wasn't that like cocaine in a straw?
Pretty much.
Yeah, dude. I'd eat like 30 of those things and run a marathon. You're like,
Oh,
yeah,
anyway.
they have really big ones too. They're like super
Yeah.
Of course
long.
they do.
you get them
They're
at
in
the
plastic
fair.
And I
tubes.
bet they're only in the United States where everyone's going to die of diabetes.
Yeah,
You
turn
mean
it up.
you mean in the United States where a small soda is 32 ounces? Like,
I know, it's unfucking real.
As a Canadian, that's the first thing you think of the United States. They can supersize anything.
Yeah, when the Wendy's in Canada for a long time, their super biggest drink was 32 ounces, and now it's like 2 liters or something. It's so
Oh.
crazy.
Yeah.
two
It's like
liters
that-
of cola.
They have.
This is the
Anyway.
child size. The child size. And they're like,
Yeah.
how is that a child size? Well, if a child was liquefied, it'd actually be about this size.
Sounds
You
about
can
right.
drown a child at that time.
Yeah. So number 6 is double bubble gum.
Double bubble.
Yeah,
Yeah, how's that gum? Like, you
Oh, that
chew
one's
on
bad,
it,
yeah.
it breaks your tooth. You know.
Mhm.
That was great gum. What are you talking about?
No, you chew like twice, and then it's
My
like
j- My
gross.
jaw would be like, what the fuck is this thing, man?
Yeah, it hurts so bad.
Oh, come on. It was
yeah,
way
your
better.
jaw's like clicking in the first 3 bites. You're like, click.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah. And then the 4th bite, there's like no flavors. It's
Your
like,
jaw's just like, I don't think this is food. Guys. Guys.
What's even happening here?
You guys didn't have the same experience I had with double bubble.
Clearly. Number 5 would be sweet tarts.
Oh, yeah,
Do
okay.
you remember sweet
Okay.
tarts?
Those are
Like, they're
those are
sweet,
very tart,
and they're-
and then they're
And then
tart.
they're sour, and you're popping them because they look like pills, right?
Right. They do kind of have that. aesthetic.
I think the candy industry and the drug industry go hand in hand.
I kind of think they do.
They should
You train them
merge,
as
really. They
kids
should
and
just
we
merge
can
them.
discuss later on.
So
Right.
number
Put
4,
fentanyl in candy.
She's like number 3, Klonopin.
Yeah.
right? Number 4 is I don't know if we have it up here, but I've kind of seen. I think I've seen it. Good and Plenty.
What the hell is that?
Oh yeah, gross.
The pink and white candy. Okay, so the pink's okay, I guess, right? But then you bite into the white one, you think it's gonna be like mint flavored or whatever, and it's like, no, it's black fucking licorice.
Oh no, I hate those.
Why
Oh
this guy's
god.
that shit is a fucking mint,
The
man?
The little
It's
pill
like a
looking thing.
black or shit brown or something.
Yeah. It doesn't.
Why isn't it not black like my heart?
Yeah, like really, what
yes.
kid wants black licorice? Come on.
Yes, that is
Right.
horrible candy. Yes.
Oh,
yeah.
man.
You
I
know what I'm
forgot
talking-
about
and then the
those.
pink is like cherry flavor or some shit. I don't know.
don't
I
even
don't think I've ever
know.
had it because
I've had it,
I'm-
but it was so long ago because it was gross.
right.
Yeah.
But you know the funny thing is these candies are still around, so people are buying. These
Well, of
things.
course they are for
Somebody's
Halloween
buying
to
them.
like piss off kids.
There's no way you're keeping a candy just for Halloween. There's got to be much more than that year round.
Well, I'm sure there's
That's
old
true.
people that like black licorice.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
So number 3, I mean, we're getting really gross here, is those crappy taffy, that are wrapped in wax paper. They're like orange and black.
Oh,
yeah.
Oh my God.
No,
Those
there's a
are like-
random one that's like peanut butter, and it's like,
But it's not
fucking
though.
vile.
It's not.
Not.
peanut-
And like no one wants to admit they make it, so the only place you can buy it is like the bulk bin at the grocery store.
Yep.
With the scoops,
Yeah.
And it's like they're just they look like completely like unlabeled. They're just orange and black, and that's it. And they're no
You don't
words,
know what they
nothing.
are.
It's just like if in a movie where it just says candy on it. You know what I mean? It's like-
I still maintain that candy is actually just excess plaster that they've put some coloring into it and just wrapped it.
It probably
It's-
is.
It's comes from the construction side, has to.
Yeah, so don't give those to kids because they might come back with some eggs and toilet paper later on.
Right? Oh, just throw those things. Just lick them a bunch and throw them so they stick all over your fucking house.
Melt with lighter. Number 2, I've never heard of these, but it made more than one gross candy list, so they must be gross. Are Necco Wafers?
Oh yeah, they're like the Smarties.
NECCO. They're like
They're-
rockets, but worse. Is
Yeah.
how I- So-
Exactly.
From what I hear, like they were apparently made in like 1847, and they've been trying to sell that stock ever since. So it just gets worse and worse every year.
I don't think I've ever known.
I'm exaggerating. Come on now.
But that
part-
sounds accurate. If it's what I think it is, that sounds like because bottle caps are fucking old too. There's
Yeah.
like
Yeah, I don't.
But those are
I don't
delicious.
think they have those in Canada, and I actually heard the Necco Wafer factory has actually closed after like 170
Thank
years.
God.
Well, it said Necco Wafers are the namesake formerly made by one of the now defunct New England confectionery company.
Yeah.
Necco, which
Yeah.
operated near Boston.
So anyway, there you go. And number one, what's the number one thing no kid wants to get in their Halloween bag?
Circus
toothbrush. Wait, what?
Yeah, exactly. Anything that is not candy. Seriously, don't give out your stupid religious tracts. Those kids, they don't give a shit. They're just gonna like fucking use them and
No.
burn them.
Okay.
They want chocolate, okay?
There
It'll be
are
all
some
over their yard.
cases. Okay, so there was one year when I was taking my kid trick or treating, and this lady had like totes and totes and totes of children's books, and she was like, "Pick a book." No, and they were all so excited. All the kids were like digging through the books, trying to find one to pick. They were so happy.
Really?
Yeah, she had gotten all these books, and she was handing out one book to each kid. It was fantastic.
That's actually
Okay,
pretty
were
good.
they good books or were they religious books?
No, they were just good, fun kids' books.
Okay,
Oh,
that's acceptable. I will allow that.
And she had all kinds of age groups of books. There was like little tiny kid books,
Okay.
everything. It was
And she-
fantastic.
She went all out for this.
She did, and
To
the kids were
educate
excited.
children.
There was a group of kids running through, digging through, like trying to, like elbowing each other to get a certain book. It was fantastic.
No, the Bernstein Bears are mine. They're
It's
mine.
mine.
Yeah.
The Bears, stay Bears.
Yeah. So okay, I will allow that as one acceptable non-candy thing to
Yeah,
give
so
out
when
on
you get
But if you
Halloween.
give me a goddamn apple, fuck you.
Yeah, it's fucking expected to hit your window later on.
As long as it's not an iPhone. If it's an iPhone, if it's an Apple iPhone, that'd be.
Oh,
very
yeah.
good.
That's also
go for that.
acceptable. Yes.
That's what I'm
but-
gonna do when I have $1 billion. I'm
Just
gonna have
an
a
apple.
stack of iPhone 13s.
That'd be
Be
awesome.
like, here's yours. Here's yours.
One for you and one for you. Everyone gets
Be like-
one under your chair.
Be like, oh, you're the 57th person to knock on my door. I'm giving you a yacht.
I love
I
it.
would totally be a philanthropist like that. All right, Benjamin. Time for a good
Oh.
moment that we like to call.
Make you go.
What do you got for us, buddy?
What do I got for this? This one's all your fault, Kevin.
Yeah, it is. But I love it.
Yeah,
Oh, is it my fault? What have I done?
I'm giving you credit because you found this one.
It's a
This one's
great
all
one.
yours,
you.
yeah.
Okay, sure.
Because
I'll love this one.
so
It's like I don't remember doing nothing.
researchers were, watching wild chimps as they do. They're researchers, right? They're watching to see what happens, how they act. And we all know that they masturbate, right? Like that's a thing.
What?
But, like
And they love it.
nobody's surprised that like chimps masturbate.
No. Would you be? I mean, it's fun.
No, I mean-
You just go after it, right? But recently
mean,
they
the only-
It's
started.
just right there.
I mean, if the only attractive female you get in your area is Jane Goodall.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, we know that chimps like to make tools, so they made sex tools, essentially. They've made sex toys.
Go chips.
Documented in the
Wow.
wild. They're witnessing for the first time a wild a wild male chimpanzee. I can use words. I really can. I promise you. Using a human-made object as a masturbatory tool. It comes from Uganda. Came out about August 2018. He's inserting his penis into a discarded plastic bottle.
Oh my gosh! Of course, it's a male chimp using
Well,
CNN.
we'll put our penises anyway.
Chimp with a dildo, but you know,
it's really just a cucumber. But you know, where it's like
one of them doing that too, but they just haven't found her yet. You know, she's more discreet than the male is.
So the team report that the male chimp had a play face, in quotes, a relaxed, open mouth expression they make when they are having fun.
Oh, nice. And if you too want to have your own chimpanzee dildo toy, sex toy, go to adamandeve.com/LATV.
we don't have that link. Don't do that.
Yeah, we're gonna have Coco whittle you a fleshlight. That's what we're gonna do. It's gonna whittle it.
Just in case you were, if you were concerned, this is a very comprehensive article, and the team couldn't determine if the chimp ejaculated into the bottle or not.
Because the chimp's like, no, this is my bottle now.
I like that kind of level of research when it comes to chimps and masturbation.
Right? They weren't going that far. They were like, okay, he's having fun. But like, do you think they just had a fight? They're like, okay, you, Tom, you go check to see if he jerked off and came in that bottle. It's like, no, fuck you, Frank. I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it. No, they just like fought for like 3 hours and.
Yeah.
This is important research, God damn it. Okay,
I do not want to look for chimp cum. Okay, I have standards. Standards.
Oh,
I should have switched the music to 1970s porn music.
No. Wow, chicka, wow, wow.
Yeah.
Brett's got it. Yeah.
Well, you know, I
Oh,
mean,
gosh.
it really does show that, you know, as a species, we're really not that far from chimps. I mean, we are horny apes too. Let's face it. So, I mean,
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
I've
There's a lot
never
of
put
animals
my
that do
penis
that.
into a bottle though.
Well,
apparently it's a very common thing. I've never done it either, but you know.
apparently you hate fun. That's all I'm saying.
Think of different bottles clearly, because the openings of the bottles that I've seen aren't very like
Exactly.
Really, how are you fitting it in there?
Exactly.
Well, it's got to
I
be
mean,
like an
they are.
Arizona tea or something. I mean, come on now. I mean, it's not like
It's got to be at least, right?
But after
Maybe a
reading this
Gatorade-
article, I'm no
Gatorade.
longer calling it an O face. It's now a play face.
Absolutely, it's my play place.
5 points for that.
Absolutely.
Excellent. Thank you. And on these thoughts of masturbation with chimps, let's move on to another brilliant moment. Bradley, you're on.
brought to you by religion. That's right.
Oh,
And,
fun time.
Yeah, this one was kind of tough. I was having a hard time because we do a lot of these, and so I was at first I was like, let me try to do something different, but man, this was just so it was just so
source.
Unbelievably ridiculous. And of course it's Cat Cur.
Of course it's Cat Cur.
Yay, Swishy Lady's back.
Yeah, exactly.
Her hair's still pink. Of course it's still pink.
And so apparently, how she knows everything that goes on in heaven. What's kind of surprising to me is the fact that she also apparently has like a telescope or something from heaven to see into hell as well. I don't really know how that works.
Wow.
I don't know why she would want to visit there.
She just wants to look. She wants to check in on people.
She's got a timeshare in the nicest spot, but it's yeah. So we got a little. We got a little clip here, and I don't want to ruin it too much, but it's all over the place anyway. I couldn't really summarize it.
Ruin everything.
Specifically.
It's Cat Cur. It's gonna ruin
Cat
everybody.
Cur, yeah. Let's
Yeah.
Let's play that clip.
All right, you ready?
get it up here for you.
I'll wait for you to share it.
Listening to me.
Yeah.
Does that listen to you?
No.
I
Hold
can't
on.
talk. You can't share. It's just.
Oh wait. Here.
There we
There we
go.
go. Yay. All right, here we go. This is from Right Ring Watch.
We didn't
Yeah.
choose who's sitting there right now. And that the villain, which God still calls him. And if anybody wonders, will Trump still get his 4 years? The answer is yes, he will. He will have
In
another
hell.
4-year term as God promised. Not the person who's now fraudulently sitting there passing all kinds of illegal laws, regulations, wicked and evil things. And I think I have to say this. I know because I've been talking.
What? I love that they're just like the regulations are all evil and everything.
Yeah.
The safety
talking about
measures to save
abortion.
lives. Right?
Yeah, but like Ben said, the abortion laws that just passed as well, right? So all these regulations are evil. These are the laws these people are passing.
Yeah.
And the president doesn't pass anything fiat like a king. He has to go to Congress. They have to sign off on it. So you can't just blame one person for whatever laws are prescribed to
Joe
the nation.
Biden isn't like, okay, so we're going to pass this law. I'm going to write this one out, pass it, no probs.
Yeah. So I stamped it with my approval. I wrote it up, stamped, boom, done. The law.
Yeah.
It's a blatant failure of understanding our political system.
I mean, you can do executive orders, but they get reversed so easily that it's not really
don't bother
significant. You know what I mean? But
you mean like when he required vaccines for like
that's
government
what
employees?
Well, that's what I think she's talking about. She's clearly talking about the vaccine and mask mandates and passport. The vaccine passports and all that type of shit.
Yeah, because 600,000 people dead is not enough, apparently.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Yeah, we're gonna start carrying at about 1.5 million.
Let's listen to the rest of this.
Yeah, here we go.
Talking to some people. I've been talking to some secular people, asking what they think, and they are saying, "I think he's wicked."
No.
These are not even believers. Okay, that's how much they understand what's wrong in the head of this person.
What is on her finger?
What people are you talking to, man? I'm really fucking curious.
Yeah, no kidding.
She's got a pink puffball on her finger.
Yeah, it must be.
Yeah.
We gotta push
her jewelry choices.
Fire
In the head of that administration is sitting there now. All they want is destruction for our country because that's really what communism, socialism, but it's also what Satanism is. And I have to put him in there. He's really over all of this. If you haven't figured that out, kill, steal, destroy. That's his agenda, and that's exactly what they're doing.
That's his agenda.
No one in those offices sitting right now have one good thing to give us. They've not created one good thing for anybody. Everything they have are declaring or else demanding from us are things that hurt, steal, take away, rob from us, especially joy. If you haven't noticed, banning Dr. Seuss is kind of almost
the banning of Dr. Seuss.
That's all.
That was one of those laws that Biden.
That shows you where their head is. They don't want you to have joy. They don't want you to laugh. They don't want us to come together.
You better not laugh.
Oh, Cat Curry, you've made us laugh.
You know why? We're dangerous when we do that. We're dangerous. We're filled with God. We love each other. We care about each other. Satan hates everybody.
And only each other.
He even hates the ones who are doing this mock takeover.
Oh,
and I can tell them, I'm speaking to you right now, the evil wicked ones.
He's talking to us.
He's
talking to us.
You won't get a high place in hell.
What?
Okay.
You put on a meat hook right next to Hitler.
Wow.
The ones who give their stuff the most for Satan are tormented and tortured more than anyone else in hell. He will mock you in hell like you're mocking us right now. So you better do that while you can. You better change sides while you can, because if you die in that position, or if you decide to take your life because of the embarrassment you're facing, I'm going to encourage you not to do that. Fuck. You don't take your life, you still have a chance to repent.
Pause it.
What is going on?
Nobody's killing themselves out of embarrassment.
I gotta stop her. Like, I can't listen to her anymore. I think
That's
need to let this go.
Well, I just needed to get to the meat hook, the hell of the meat hook.
I just love the idea that you're going to go to hell and there's a meat hook with your name on it.
Meat hook.
Right?
Like a rack.
We're just gonna pull that video away now. I'm done.
And it's what's weird is the sick pleasure that they get out of this. Like, it's so weird. It's like
you're gonna end up in hell, jerk.
Yeah, and it's like they're almost happy to talk about it. Like, they're just
and
like,
I don't want to be in heaven with them.
No,
well, that's what they love about their whole story is that the people that deserve it are gonna get it, and we're so mean. We're so mean because we laughed at her.
Yeah,
I hate to ring it
ridiculous if you don't want laughter.
I hate to ring it to you, Kat, but according to your own book, Hitler is not in hell. He's in heaven because he accepted Jesus before he died.
Yep.
Right. So yes, and he was a Christian.
According to
a
your
weird
own
kind of
faith,
Christianity, but Christianity.
Yeah.
Exactly. So, thank you so much for this, Bradley. That was funny as per usual. Let's take a quick break, and when we come back, we'll have Candace Gorham with us, and we'll be talking about her book on death, dying, and disbelief. So stay with us.
Okay.
Yes.
You're listening to Left at the Valley 2.0.
It's where atheists gather. This is LATV 2.0.
All right, our next guest is Candace Gorman. She's the author of a book on death, dying, and disbeliefs. She's a snappy dresser and a snazzy dancer. Candace, thank you so much for joining us on the show.
Thank you for having me.
Large applause, large applause. We spare no expense. Candace, we'll be talking about your book for sure here, but before that, how about you give us a quick bio as to who Candace Gorham is?
Oh my goodness. Okay, so if I'm giving sort of like the religious background story, I was raised Jehovah's Witness until I was like maybe 9, 10 years old when my parents split up. And but even at that young age, like I was super serious about my religious beliefs. And so like as a 9, 10-year-old, I was choosing to continue to study with the Jehovah's Witnesses, even though like my mama didn't make us go and like nobody else in our family went. And then I got to middle school and I started going to like the family church, which was a United Methodist church. And I got confirmed in the United Methodist Church and, you know, baptized and sang in the choir and did all that, you know, the youth choir. Then I got to high school, got a little boyfriend, you know, wasn't really trying to hear all that anymore. So I kind of, you know, fell out of church for a little bit. And then when things really started going crazy was my sister married a minister when I was my senior year of high school. And he was of the more extreme variety. Technically, he was non-denominational, but he was like, you know, the sort of stuff you think about, like Pentecostal holiness, evangelical, you know, casting out demons and fasting and praying in tongues and prophesying and all of that. And I was ordained in that church under him as a prophetess and an evangelist. And so I'll just put it out there now. I still prophesy for a small fee. I got you. Whatever you need to happen, I'll make happen. I'll give you a little prophecy, small fee. And I'll cast out a demon too. I'll cast out a demon too if we need to do that too. Just let me know what that cost a little bit extra, but it's not easy to do.
I thought I had a demon. It was just
lucrative.
Yeah. So I did that for a couple of years with that church, and where I was able to sort of begin to, you know, deconvert my deconversion process was actually I moved to Bermuda to teach in Bermuda for a couple of years, and that really got me away from everybody and all the influences and all the things that were going on in my life, you know, like religious influences and stuff. And I was going through a lot of things at that time, and I was feeling like, you know, I think I'm doing everything according to the Bible, right? I'm fasting, I'm praying, I'm paying my tithes, 10% off gross, everything, you know, like for real. But stuff was going wrong in my life. There was a bunch of mess. And so I'm thinking I must be doing something wrong, right? I'm trying all my hardest here. And if my life is a mess, then something's wrong with me. And so it's always been really important for me to sort of make sure that when I tell my deconversion story, that I want it to be clear that I did not deconvert out of no kind of like emotional trauma or angry at God or anything like that. But I felt like I must be doing something wrong. Let me study some more. Let me do some more research. Let me sort of open my thoughts up to things that I had never considered before, because I'm obviously doing something wrong. Well, as you might imagine, I pretty much studied myself right on out of religion, doing that, you know, started looking at stuff a little bit too closely, you know, comparing other religions and that sort of thing. And like I said, by being in Bermuda, it was easy. It was an easy process for me because I didn't have all the family around me, like trying to convince me to go to church and stuff like that. I mean, it wasn't an easy process. It was traumatic. Like I used to have nightmares that I was going to hell, and I would just, it was really scary for, the first couple of years of me coming out of religion. But here I am today, like, fuck religion.
I hate to bring it to you, Candace, but hell is actually just one long recording of Left at the Valley. That's what it is. You're in it right now. So if you can tolerate this, you'll be all right. I gotta ask. Coming from a black family, they're very, very tight on religion. So for you to deconvert, I mean, was there a lot of backlash from the rest of your family?
Well, like I said, in the beginning, I was not around my family, so I was able to do all of that questioning and reconsidering and stuff outside of their influence. And so by the time I moved back to the United States, I was pretty settled in my convictions. But the problem was that I was not out to my family. And so actually my first book, the Ebony Exodus Project, is pretty much how I came out to my family. There's a book now where I talk all about my religious experiences. And, but I didn't really, go sit my mama down and go sit my daddy down and say, hey, I'm an atheist now. It was just more like something that kind of evolved. And like I said, when my first book came out, plenty of family found out about it through that, or me posting on Facebook talking about the book and stuff like that. So I lost some friends. I did lose a couple friends. I had quite a bit of issues with some family members. I kind of get looks and stares at the family reunion. People maybe give me the little cold shoulder. So it's definitely had some ripple effects in my family. But with my immediate family, mama, daddy, brother, sister, in-laws, nieces and nephews, like my immediate core people, and my best friend, who's been my best friend for over 30 years, my core people are like, whatever, they either don't talk about it at all, or they're like, it's cool, it's whatever, so it's worked out pretty well in that way.
I've always said that, when you're a child, family means blood. But as you grow older and older, family are the people that have your back. And that's
definitely
a relation. So good for you. And of course, you have new friends.
Real
quick, I want to ask.
Yeah, go for it, Brent.
Do you think that that was a better way, that was a better tactic than just letting it happen naturally, like instead of actually having that conversation with each family member or each people that you're within your family that you're close with? Do you think that was a better way to do it? Just kind of let it come up when it comes up, sort of thing?
I don't like confrontation, so it was good for me. I didn't have to get into any arguments or anything. Like I said, I understand that to a certain extent. I'm probably lucky that, my family was just sort of like, moderately spiritual, religious as it is. Probably the most religious person in my family is my mama. And when she found out, she broke down crying and was all pitiful and stuff like that. So she had the hardest reaction. But like I said, everybody else is just, they just sort of put two and two together by things that I posted on Facebook and little snarky comments I would make. And so everybody's pushed. And then, like I said, now I got the book out and stuff. So I feel like it was good.
All out there
me.
now, right?
Yeah,
It's all done.
yeah, exactly.
And I gotta say, cool. Ebony Exodus for a title for a book, that's fantastic. I love it.
Yeah, that's really cool. I really like that.
I love it. But today we were talking about on death, dying, and disbelief. So I guess my first question is, sounds pretty obvious, but what is the book really about?
So the book consists of 10 tips that I feel people who are grieving, if you can take into consideration these 10 tips and you put some of them into action, that will help your grieving process, help move it along. And the reason that I wrote the book was in 2019, that high school sweetheart that I mentioned a couple minutes ago, he died in a car accident. And so that was me. He and I had reconnected, later in life. We both went through marriages and divorces and children and blah, 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 blah. And we reconnected years later. And so I took it was pretty traumatic for me. And so the first year was just horrible and terrible. And when the 1 year anniversary came around, the grief just came back and hit me like a tsunami. And so I thought, I can't do another year of this. Like, I can't go through another year of this. Like, what can I do to sort of channel this energy? And that's what I was like, I can talk about. I mean, I'm a licensed professional counselor, so I can combine what I know about my personal experience, what I know from my professional expertise, and, and so it's specifically speaking to non-believers, atheists, agnostics, because when you think about death and dying and heaven and hell, like that's always sort of relegated to the realm of like religion, right? Like you got to talk about where they're going after they die and what's going to happen to their energy or whatever, right? And so it tends to be in the realm of the spiritual. Well, we as non-believers don't really have any resources, right? Like, what are we going to do? And so that's what it is. It's sort of intended to be a resource for grieving non-believers.
It's very apropos you mentioned that, because just before you came on the show, we were reminiscing about a co-host that we used to have the show that passed away, and today yesterday was her birthday. So I guess I can totally understand how you did work your energy into a book. We worked our energy into listening to an old clip of her. So I totally understand.
Yeah.
Do you feel that as atheists that we handle death properly?
Do atheists handle death properly? I think that there's a combination of what goes on. I think that on the one hand, we handle it. A lot of times people sort of go into it like, this is the end. I'm not going to hold on to any false beliefs that I'm going to reconnect with that person. This is the end, and I accept that and I understand that. The other side of that is, but I want there to be an afterlife. I want that person to be available to me when I die too. And so there's that becomes sort of the existential crisis, and the existential struggle is in not necessarily that I believe that there's an afterlife, but now I want to believe that there's an afterlife. And so then you go through, oh my God, am I turning back into a religious person? I don't want to be a religious person, but I do want there to be a heaven, so then we sort of have a really unique internal struggle, I think, and that's, what I see a lot and what I've heard a lot and what my personal experience was.
Yeah, I mean, that almost seems like that for so many of the beliefs that, religion is kind of put out there. It's like, it always seems like it's stuff that you'd like to think is true. You want to believe the people that you don't like are going to a bad place, and the people that you do like are going to be hanging out with you. You know what I mean? Like that's,
yeah.
And they say you're like, I think it was something like 5 to 7 times more likely to believe to accept a proposition if it's something you want to believe is true.
Right.
And so it's all, I don't know, but that almost makes it seem like it's less likely to actually be true, right? Because we're just thinking it's something that we'd like to believe. Like, yeah, you get to go to a theme park when you die, man. It's awesome. Like,
Kevin was telling me that the cat lady, whatever, I had never heard of her before, but she said heaven's got like lava surfing or something. I was like, damn, like I'm trying to go lava surfing. I don't know, like forget seeing all my friends and family. I want to go lava surfing.
Yeah, and the cows mow the lawn.
Oh,
but in tractors, like they're driving them and stuff,
And she also mentioned one time there was also a warehouse of body parts somewhere. So if you get an amputee and needs an arm or a leg, it's right there.
They got it. Wow,
Yeah,
she went all the way out to left field.
But are they like normal arms or like cool arms that can do stuff? Like
okay,
laser in it,
right? Like do they have like technology in them, bionic arms?
Right.
I'll take
You
one.
feel like the the Winter Soldier, has got his
Yeah.
arm.
The cool thing also is if you're missing an arm, you don't necessarily have I wouldn't have to necessarily take a Caucasian arm. I can take a black man's arm or an Asian arm. That'd be cool, actually.
Okay.
Change the color pattern, right?
Yeah. I like that.
Kevin the mismatched man.
Yeah, no kidding. I want go gadget arms. I'm good with that.
Right? I just want lasers.
Anyways, left turn as usual.
Yeah, exactly. So Candace, do you feel that as opposed to when you were a believer, do you feel that your belief system now, or I shouldn't even call it a belief system now, the way you face death as a non-believer, I mean, it's not as reassuring, but it's a more mature way to look at passing. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah, absolutely. I had a really significant loss when I was my senior year in high school. Actually, my aunt, who was like a second mom to me, she died suddenly from an aneurysm. And so, of course, at that time, I was getting involved in the church with my sister and her husband and stuff. And so I was getting pretty serious about my religious beliefs. And I know that I mourned her death completely different from how I mourned my high school sweetheart's death. Because for her death, a lot of it was like pushing down the grief, trying to hide it because, well, she's in a better place, like she's in a better place. Like I should not be pitiful and depressed and sad about this. And so there was a lot of putting it down. There was a lot of hiding. There was a lot of, just not really talking about it, not really letting myself experience it. Versus, now when he died 2 years ago, it's nothing for me to pretend like, there's no better place. There's no reason for me to pretend and hide from God. I'm actually depressed about this thing. Like, no, heck no, I'm depressed. This is pitiful. I'm miserable, y'all. I need everybody to know how miserable I am. So I would say that I grieve both of them two, completely different ways. Because I was no longer a believer.
It's always something that's fascinating me because I was raised Catholic, and when I was Catholic and I was a believer as a child, when somebody would die, it was always like, why are you guys crying? I mean, Uncle Bob's in a better place now. He's just waiting for us. We'll see him soon eventually.
Yep.
So why are you guys crying? So which
It's
leads
a long
me
vacation.
Yeah, exactly, right?
Yep.
So if somebody goes on a vacation for a couple of months, you don't cry because they leave. They'll be back.
Yep.
Exactly.
So it leads me to believe, and to this day, I still hold that belief that I don't actually think that even believers believe in the afterlife. I think they tell themselves that, they hope for it, but I don't think they truly believe in it. Because your reaction towards death would be completely different if you actually believed it.
Because of
Or
the
if you knew
selfish
it.
aspect of it. I mean, people are inherently selfish, and so the grieving process is also about how you're feeling. You're sad because you don't have what you want anymore, what made you happy, or it's more about yourself.
Yeah, funerals
Some
aren't for the person who passed away; they're for the people that are still left.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's true. Maybe I'm wrong. Let's ask the expert.
I don't know. Yeah, exactly.
See what Candace has to say.
Right. Don't ask
What do
me.
you mean, maybe?
No.
Kevin?
No, I mean, I would say when I was super religious in my super religious time, I really did believe that there was a heaven and a hell. I mean, I was terrified about hell. I think, you're making me question. I think that, obviously you have it's a subjective trying to look back at, reflect on yourself sort of thing. So I believe that I really did believe it. But I think, like Sabrina was saying, that's a good point, that it's not necessarily about where that person is as it's so much as it is about I'm missing that person right now here on earth. And but the problem is that a lot of times believers try to hide that grief, behind the idea that, they're in heaven. So, it's okay. Don't worry about it. And that's where I think that's the most unhealthy thing to me, is trying to hide it and bury the grief.
Would you feel that, if we were to find a way to not bury the grief, it seems that most people are not willing to take that bargain because it comes at the price of hope. You lose your hope because all of a sudden you're dealing with death in a much more mature way, but yet, you're kind of losing the hope of seeing that person again. Ironically enough, I was much more sad when people died when I was a believer than when my own father passed away about 6 years ago as a non-believer. I was much more at peace with his passing. So it's I don't know. What are your thoughts?
Well, again, like I said, I think that it is a distinct difference because your whole worldview is completely different. I think that so part of what I do in the book is, like I was saying, it's 10 tips, right? And one of the tips that I talk about is like doing something in honor of that person, right? To try to memorialize their, you just do something in their honor that's going to help you feel better. And I think, trying to shift that attention, trying to help non-believers sort of shift their attention away from just plain and simple, the person's no longer here. Okay, well, how do we make meaning though? Let's make our own meaning in life. And, whereas believers don't have to go through that process. They don't have to make meaning because the meaning is already prescribed to them. God took them on to a better place. Whereas we have to struggle with it and find some kind of way to come to peace with it. And like I said, some people are more at peace because maybe I could imagine somebody being more at peace if you're not burdened by the heaven or hell beliefs, because I know when again another family member committed suicide, and according to you can't kill, right? You can't kill. So a person who commits suicide is supposed to go to hell because you can't kill and you killed yourself. Well, I remember being at that funeral and just being like, y'all like straight preaching this woman into heaven, and like, it was all kind of stuff was wrong with her life. Like we knew she was all over the place. Like, is she really in heaven? And so I think an additional struggle maybe that falls on the believer side is worrying about, is my loved one in heaven or hell? And so it might be easier for a non-believer in that sense, that not only do I don't have to worry about heaven, but I also don't have to worry about hell, which is a good thing, whereas like I said, when I was much younger and that family member committed suicide, it was like, like I said, I was much younger. And so I'm sitting here like, wait, I thought, somebody committed suicide would go to hell. And, some of the other things about her life, that were going on in her life, I was like, I thought this person would be in hell, but y'all just preached her right into heaven. And that's a scary thought, right? Like nobody wants to stand up and tell a parent who's burying their child that their child is gone to hell because such and such and such, even though, their lifestyle may not have lined up with what's supposed to get you into heaven. But that's like a secret internal struggle now that all the family is going through this internal struggle about, is this person in heaven or hell?
It sounds like it complicates the hell out of everything.
Yeah.
Right? It just makes it that much harder because now we're like, but we knew they were sleeping with, somebody that wasn't their husband or wife. So, I mean, we can talk about that, and then everybody's kind of got to deal with that in the seat on their own, where they stand on where they think they are in the afterlife. That just is like a mind fuck that just seems unnecessary. And
I think Benjamin made the point earlier on, and he has a very good point that it really depends on how much you like the person or not. I mean,
that's true. No, for real.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, if you think the person's a bit of an idiot, and he's definitely in hell, but he's had his fault, but he's a good person at heart. He's in heaven. So the rules are very.
So it's like you're sending them one place or another. More like each of us.
Basically. Maybe we decide. I mean, if we're gonna make up rules, then let's make up rules.
Right. So the person basically the person's soul splits into like 50 pieces, and like where each of those people believe they are, that bit of their soul. So like Benjamin believes they're in hell, so a piece of their soul went to hell, but I believe they're in heaven, so a piece of their soul went to heaven. I like that. I like that
Let's
strategy.
do that. Yeah.
You know, that makes perfect sense with Cat Kerr's arm factory warehouse mall.
That's where they get the body part. Exactly.
Shatters.
Benjamin's in heaven, but he's missing an arm because he was partly bad. Now he needs a replacement.
Right.
Well, then we really need to figure out where the head is, because I feel like that matters the most. But
he solved Christianity.
Oh, you guys are wonderful.
Aside that, you got your 10 tips there. What are the other tips you'd like to give people that grieve or in the process of grieving?
Well, my favorite one out of all of them is like spending time in nature. So one of the things that I do in the book, I'm not just talking off the top of my head. I also incorporate a lot of research. And so in the chapter about spending time in nature, I talk about stuff called directed attention fatigue, and I talk about like the neurological research that are behind, you know, how stress impairs our decision making, and how spending time in nature, you know, helps you those things recover. And so I spend quite a bit of time, you know, like I said, looking at research and looking at science to sort of bolster the points that I'm making. And spending time in nature is absolutely my favorite tip of them all. You know, anybody who knows me knows that I'm an avid hiker. I go to Colorado every summer and do 14,000 foot mountains. I came from 6,300 feet today. That's why I texted and was like, "Are we gonna be on camera?" Because I was in the mountains
You look fabulous.
I was in the mountains this morning hiking, and I got up to 6,300 feet, couldn't breathe. And so that I you know, take it very seriously. But I make a point in the book, you know, like you don't have to be a hiker to get the benefits of spending time in nature. It could be, you know, working in a garden. It could be just sitting on your porch during a rainstorm. You know, it could be any variety, just as long as you get out of the sort of hustle and bustle of the daily life and just sort of put yourself back into a natural setting. That will help a lot of those things recover. And so that's probably my favorite tip out of all of them. Go ahead.
No, I was about to say you went and got high just before coming on the show.
Yes. High on a mountain. Yes.
High on life.
Low oxygen all the time.
Mountains that new shit, man. Mountains that
you know what I'm saying? You ain't heard of that strain yet, the mountain strain.
Shit stank.
Fantastic.
I guess more questions I got to ask about this is there a way? I mean, how was your book received according to denomination, or maybe between believers and non-believers? I mean, do you know how the book was received for like the faithful, how they viewed your book? Were they agreeing with it or not?
It actually has not been released yet. It was yesterday, October 2nd was supposed to be the release date, but I was informed that we have a paper shortage in this country.
Oh wow.
So my release date got pushed from October 2nd to October 21st. So it has not come out yet.
No, I have to wait. Is there an ebook?
Yeah.
I don't know if they're releasing the ebook early. It will be in e-format, but I don't think they're releasing it early.
And hopefully there'll be an audible format as well.
I've got to work on that. That is the goal.
Right.
That is the goal. Yes.
That always takes a bit longer, you know.
Yeah, you got to read it. You got to read it properly.
Yeah.
Right, exactly. And I did the audio on my first book, the Ebony Exodus Project, and I was married at the time, and my husband was a studio engineer. So how lucky was I, right?
There you go.
But now I don't have a spouse to engineer my audio anymore, so I have no idea how I'm going to do it.
How did you like doing that? Was that an interesting?
Oh my God, it was
presentation?
so hard. No,
It's
I
hard,
hated
right?
it. Yes, I
It
hated
sounds
it.
hard when I listen
Oh
because
my
I
God.
I'm dyslexic, so I have a hard time reading a lot of books. But like, so I'll listen to them, and it sounds tough, like it sounds like you can hear a lot, especially a lot of times when it's somebody else reading the book because you can tell their inflection's not right, sometimes, so that's why I actually like it better when the actual authors like read the books, because they know what they're trying to, like the way they're trying to say something, right?
Exactly.
So, yeah,
And
that's
that's my
cool. I mean,
thing. I'm like, I don't want to pay somebody else. I mean, it's not that I don't want to pay. It's that I would prefer the book to be in my voice, the
Yeah.
audio, if
absolutely.
if possible. But we'll
Yeah.
I
see.
think most people would prefer to hear the author reading the book.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, there's a lot of famous
I mean, I'd offer to do it for you, but
Oh, I'm gonna see if I can get Morgan Freeman. If I get
There you
Morgan
go.
Freeman,
Oh, absolutely.
There you go.
okay.
Actually, you know what? That's the kind
The
of
voice
yeah.
get God. I'm gonna get God to read my book.
Yes. That would be perfect.
About not believing in God.
Narrated
That's great.
In your book, Candace, you do a dive into not just necessarily by faith denomination or not, but also how the different cultures adapt to death and how they face death. You do a dive into that?
No, I like I said, it's a very practical book. It's like part personal journal because I get into like really graphic detail about my grief and how ugly it was and how hard it was. So it's like part journal. You get a very intimate look into my process, and then the rest of it is just really practical. It's like because when I was thinking about myself and my own grief, I wouldn't have been able to sit down and read a 300-page book and go through all of this history and all of this, that, and the third. Like, I'm not even interested in that. I just want to feel better. And so the idea behind the book is really like you should just be able to run your finger, open the book through on any page, put a finger down and find something that you can do today to help with that process. So it's very practical. I don't really, like I said, the research that I do talk about is to sort of bolster the points that I'm making, but I don't go into it's directly speaking towards non-believers, and it's directly speaking towards the difficulty of grieving, especially for non-believers and things they can do. So it's not complicated at all. It's very easy read.
Perfect. Is there without necessarily, you don't have to answer that question if you don't want to, but if you don't mind me asking, which part of your grieving process did you find most difficult to overcome?
Oh, the most difficult part.
It's not coming on the show, of course.
Yeah. Right. I don't know. I think just I had a lot of regret. And I think that was maybe trying to exercise all that regret and let stuff go and forgive myself and forgive him and let a lot of things go. I think that was probably one of my biggest issues because he was 41, and I was 39. Like we got a whole lot of life left to live, so there was a whole lot of regret and anger. I went through quite an intense bout of anger at him because he was driving. They determined that he didn't have his seatbelt on, and that was an ongoing argument between us. Was wear your freaking seatbelt, please. Yeah. And so for that to be, the thing that did him in, I had a lot of anger towards him for that I had to process and get through. So it was really ugly. It was really, I wouldn't wish it on an enemy. It was horrible. And now that, just to be extra transparent with you, right now I'm out and I'm talking on the book and I'm giving talks and I'm doing presentations and I'm going to conferences and retreats and stuff and talking about death and talking about my book and retelling my story over and over again. And it's nice because I know that this is part of the thing that I'm doing to honor him, but it's difficult because it's bringing up all of that old shit again. And so I'm kind of, going through a little moment right now, not in this very moment, but I mean at this time in my life while I'm trying to promote the book, some of that grief is coming back. So it's like, ugh.
So it looks like you've got a memorial tattoo on there. Is that part of your?
Yeah. Oh, yes, absolutely.
I know it's a
I can't
reverse.
tell which. Right.
Right.
Yeah. His initials and his birthday and death date. Yeah. And
Was that something you
a
found super helpful?
cliche heart with an infinity symbol.
I like
Super
it.
I like
cliche.
it. Oh, that's cool.
And then he used to call me hiker girl, and so I got hiker girl tattooed on my legs.
That's cool.
That's
So
awesome.
yeah.
So is that
Yes.
something that was part of your like healing and helping with dealing with your grief, or?
Yeah, I definitely think it's like, okay, it's like, why do I not know what arm my tattoo is on? First of all, like, why is this camera confusing me? I should know the tattoo is over here.
I do the same thing. It's okay.
But there's some catharsis, I think, in I got tons of tattoos and I'm just that person that likes the pain. So there was some catharsis in actually channeling the emotional pain into physical pain, but into art and not just harming myself. So I think that helped me. And then just writing the book, I mean, like I said, I was really able to process a lot of stuff and really work through stuff and cry through stuff, and I was having to put my advice to work for my own self too. So having something to channel that energy into just made a huge difference.
Hey, I have a quick question because I actually am sort of going through something similar to this. Is like the like you were saying, like having a bad, like things that you got in fights with or something like that about with somebody, and then they passed away a couple months ago. My father passed away, and like one of the last things we did, we had like a sort of like a debate, like almost about like religion and the Illuminati apparently and all this other stuff. And and that's been sort of a tough thing, like moving past that, those disagreements and things that you said, and I even made a video like right after that we had the conversation of how I messed up, how I didn't do the debate the way I should have done it and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
And do you have any specific things that you could that would be helpful for people going through that maybe felt like they made a mistake with the person and now they can't rectify it,
Okay, so the counselor in me comes out with that type of question, because we do therapeutic techniques, stuff as simple as journaling, right? There's stuff like Gestalt theory and the empty chair. I don't know if you ever heard of the empty chair, but it's like where let's say I'm the client and I'm sitting in a chair and literally there's an empty chair across from me, and I decide I'm talking to whatever it is. I can say I'm going to have a conversation with my anger. I'm going to have a conversation with myself. I'm going to have a conversation with my mama, whatever I want to be in that other chair. And I talk in the book about like if it's helpful, if it feels good to just like talk to the person, I know in my mind they're not here, but it's similar to journaling. It's similar to getting those thoughts and those feelings out, empty chair techniques, stuff like that. I think there's something cathartic about just being able to say the things that you're thinking. So that's one thing, honestly, that I talk about is if you feel so inclined to sit there and have a audible conversation, have an audible conversation. If you rather journal it, same difference, right? So that's something that I talk about. And then I also, like I said, stuff like, redirecting your own attention. You gotta, sometimes we gotta redirect ourselves and say, okay, I'm feeling a lot of regret and guilt right now, and I know there's nothing I can do about this regret and guilt. Let me distract myself with something else, and of course that seems kind of obvious, right? Like engage in cliche things. I mean, engage in just something a distraction method. But if you're very intentional about it, I think there's intentionality behind it that makes a difference too. That says, I'm acknowledging that I'm going through a lot of grief right now. This anger that I'm feeling, or this regret, or this guilt that I'm feeling is related to the grief. I'm not gonna let this tear me up, and I'm gonna go and redirect myself. So there's a lot about in the book about being very intentional with your grief process, and being able to manage it and control it in that way. When you when you take control of the grief, when you take control of the process, because the grief is going to do what the grief is going to do, but you can still take control of yourself and your decisions and how you're going to engage with yourself and other people in the world while you're grieving. You make conscious choices about how you're going to engage and do something different to sort of pull yourself out of those times when we get lost in our heads and get stuck. And
Oh yeah. Wow. Okay. Cool.
So kind of
Thank
just
you.
like
Yeah.
intentionally processing your feelings, because I found personally that if I try to hold the feelings or whatever, like when you have feelings, you have to feel them. You have to let yourself feel them, or they're just going to keep troubling you.
Yeah. You gotta. It's not gonna go anywhere. The grief is not gonna go anywhere. So you might as well deal with it head on.
Yeah. And with the empty chair thing, I want to say real quick, it's almost like, how they say like your brain can't tell the difference between things a lot, you can tell the difference, but like when you go through the motions of like talking to the person and rectifying the mistakes that you've made, your brain can't really tell those emotional differences, because it's a different part of the brain, right? So like, that I could see how that'd be very, very helpful. So yeah.
Yeah, the other cool thing about the empty chair technique, obviously, this is something that I'm supposed to say, you want to do this with a licensed professional who help guide you through the process, blah, 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 blah.
Oh, yeah.
Right. But the other thing, if you, like I said, if you want to say you're going to do it in journal style, you're going to write it down. One thing that you would do is, okay, so I'm in my chair and I'm talking to my regret. Well, then I may literally get up, go sit in the other chair and become the voice of the regret. Now, what would the regret say to me, and have a conversation in reverse of, like I said, if it was the person, let's say it was my high school sweetheart, I'm talking to him. Then I get up and I go get in the other chair and I pretend that I'm him and talking back to Candace. What would he say about the things that I've said? And so sort of processing through it in a different type of unique way. And like I said, you could do that journal style as well, and say, what I wish this person had said to me before they died is XYZ, or what I wish, we could have said to each other is, so processing it from both angles.
Wow. Yeah, no, that's super cool.
Fantastic. Candace, thank you so much for coming on the show and explaining your book to us. Really, really appreciate that. Before our listeners, if they want to find your book, where can they find it? It's not quite out now, but when it does come out, where can they find it?
So it's at all the major book retailers. You can get it from Amazon. They got it Barnes and Nobles, Borders. You can pre-order them right now. As far as I know, you can pre-order them on all of those sites. And then that's it for the book right now. I'm on Twitter at Ebony Exodus, and Ebony Exodus has a page on Facebook, Ebony Exodus. So those will be the places to be able, if you want to reach out to me directly about the book or something like that, you could find me on Twitter and the Facebook page.
Perfect. Ebony Exodus. Go look it up right now.
Yeah, I was just about to.
It's called the Ebony Exodus. Oh, well, you're talking about the Facebook page.
Oh, I should have
I was on Twitter. Yeah.
Now you're being followed.
That's right.
Sounds kind of creepy when I say it.
You following me? Don't follow me, Kevin, please.
Where do you like to go hiking again, Candace?
Where do you get high on the mountain? Candace, thank you so much for being on the show with us. Before
Thank you for having me.
I gotta have you say, hi, this is Candace Gorman. I took a left in the valley.
I took a left in the valley?
At the valley.
At the valley. Hi, this is Candace Gorham. I took a left at the valley.
Fantastic. Excellent.
Was that right?
Yeah, that was one of the better ones.
And that was Candace Gorham talking about On Death, Dying, and Disbelief. She's fabulous. I love her.
Yeah.
Yeah, she was great.
Yeah, she was absolutely great, and I like the way that she looks at this, and the practical approach that she's bringing on to dying in disbelief, I think, is very important. Because she was making the point that when you're in mourning, last thing you want is to be reading a 300-page book on how you should handle things. You want it to be practical. You want it to apply now. So
Quick. And I thought when I heard the topic that this was going to be a super depressing conversation.
Right. That was my thought.
Thankfully, it was not.
No.
Sorry, guys.
Welcome
all
back.
right.
Sorry, I'm not feeling that great.
Oh, I'm sorry.
We're all not feeling that great, I guess.
Yeah, exactly. What's up with that?
Sorry. And I'm sorry to also announce I won't be here next Sunday.
What?
Oh,
jerk.
And you know what actually next Sunday is? Just because Kevin's probably also forgotten. It's actually Canadian Thanksgiving.
Oh no shit.
Yeah, we always forget that Canadian Thanksgiving is a month earlier than you guys.
Yeah. Well, it's actually on Monday, I think. So I think we'll do our thing on Monday. Anyway, so there you go. I won't be here, but top 10's already taken care of.
Just call it Turkey Day. That's all. That's all that matters.
There you go.
And thank you so much for Candace Gorham for being our guest, and thank you for Brentley, Benjamin, and Sabrina for being the co-host, and thank you for listening. You can follow us at leftofthevalley.ca. You can follow us at Twitter at LATV Podcast, on Facebook.com/leftofthevalley. And don't forget our contest.
Yes, the contest is running. I've got lots of entries rolling in. Make sure you get yours in. Win an autographed copy of the Time Shards trilogy. You can go to leftofthevalley.ca/contests to enter.
Fantastic.
Oh, yeah.
And you can send us an email at leftattvalley@outlook.com. And you can still go to patreon.com/LATV and become a patron of the show and help our efforts. All right, Brent.
Unapologetics. Come on, let's plug it.
Unapologetics panel stream. On YouTube. Definitely check it out. It's every Wednesday night at 11:30. And it's very light and we just goof off and have fun.
And you can always hashtag replay.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Coming up next week, His Rawness, Arn Raw, will be in the house.
Oh, I'm going to miss it.
Oh, I know.
Oh, man.
Damn.
Yeah, you messed up. I was telling Amy all about it. She's like, yeah, I know him.
We're totes buds.
After that, we'll have our old friend Hector Garcia. Dr. Hector Garcia will come back with us to talk about wokeness. That should be interesting. And we'll have a Halloween show that's coming down the pipe. And in November, we'll be talking to Dr. Edwin Hodge of the University of Victoria. We'll be talking about natural person.
Wow.
These sovereign citizen people? We'll be talking about that. So that's
people who say that they don't have to do anything because
they don't have to obey the law kind of thing.
All right. Yeah. Let's talk about that. That's cool.
So
all
that'll
right.
be very interesting to talk about. And of course, down the pipe, we'll be talking about our Christmas show and all that stuff. Anything else that we got here? We're all good?
Have a great week.
Perfect.
Don't we always say that?
Do we?
Get your pumpkin spice everything.
Oh, don't get your pumpkin spice crap.
Stop it.
Pumpkin spice candy.
Yeah.
For Halloween.
Pumpkin spice cookies. It's everywhere, and it's fantastic. I don't care what you say.
Pumpkin spice Mountain Dew. It's coming. It's
Until
coming.
next time.
I say it's ignorance and you just call it faith and unsubstantiated claim.